Welcome back to Tousi TV, your global news channel. I'm Tousi, and the leadership of Hamas in Gaza have decided not to reject President Trump's deal, the Gaza deal, or as Trump calls it, the peace deal. And they have now agreed to essentially the deal, but they want to negotiate a couple of things which are slightly crucial. There has been a lot of misunderstandings on social media because obviously a lot of people don't know exactly what's going on. They just hear some sort of headline. They're like, oh, there we go, I'm an expert now. This is a fast-moving development. So as at the time of us obviously giving you guys the live report, in the next 3 hours, things might change. By tomorrow morning, things might change. It might get worse, it might get better. But we're going to give you guys the latest, because until a few minutes ago, a lot of people were saying, well, they're not going to disarm. They've said we're not going to disarm. Abu Marzouk has said that Hamas will disarm. But obviously, nobody trusts Hamas in Gaza. So we're just going to go with what they are saying. And President Trump is going to be addressing the White House shortly. We do have a live feed from the border between Gaza and Israel. And of course, we will bring you guys the latest developments from the Middle East in general. So let me start by giving you guys all the details and the statement from Hamas. I was going to say Hamas's leadership, but they don't really have any leaders left. They have spokespeople and senior officials. Before we do that, today is also an extremely important day in history of humanity, because after centuries and centuries, we have finally decided to officially launch Tousi TV's own official account on X. As an organization, you can now follow it by going on going on X and searching Tousi TV official. Obviously, it's got a yellow tick or check mark, so you can tell which one's which. And in order to celebrate with you guys, I've decided to give you guys a limited present. Yes, 50% off Tousi TV Plus membership, annual memberships of Tousi TV Plus. If you use the promo code, you can see at the top of the screen, X50 or X50. By going directly on Tousi.tv or find the link in the description. You can also see the details on the screen down there. Use the code X50. Now, Hamas, let's talk about Musa Abu Marzouk, one of the few senior people left. Before we get to him, actually, let's actually talk about the official statement. The first response from Hamas was just one sentence, which was Trump's plan will only be able to be implemented with negotiations on details. There are a couple of very important details that they want to negotiate. So they have agreed to release all the hostages. They have agreed to surrender power. But there's a couple of tiny, very important things that they want to negotiate further. So let's start with the initial statement. This is what Hamas said. Hamas appreciates the Arab, Islamic and international efforts, as well as the efforts of the US President Donald Trump, calling for stopping the war on the Gaza Strip, exchanging prisoners, immediate entry of aid, rejecting the occupation of the Strip, and rejecting the displacement of our Palestinian people from it. Within this framework, and to achieve the ceasefire, and the cessation of war in general, and full withdrawal from the Strip, the movement announces its approval to release all occupation prisoners, alive and dead, according to the exchange formula mentioned in President Trump's proposal, and providing the field conditions for the exchange process. In this context, the movement confirms its readiness to immediately enter negotiations through mediators to discuss the details, which was always part of the plan. The movement also renews its approval to hand over the administration of the Gaza Strip to a Palestinian independent technocratic authority based on a Palestinian national consensus and relying on Arab and Islamic support, which is basically what President Trump is proposing, with a tiny difference. I don't think Hamas wants Tony Blair to be in charge. I don't think they're happy about Blair. Now, as for other issues mentioned in President Trump's proposal related to the future of the Gaza Strip and the authentic rights of the Palestinian people, These are linked to a comprehensive national position based on relevant international laws and resolutions, and will be discussed through a comprehensive Palestinian national framework in which Hamas will participate and contribute responsibly. These are just random words. They finally found some sort of lawyer to come up with some jargon. The issue here is that they basically said, we still want to be around. We won't govern, but we want to have a say. This is where things are going to get complicated for them. Because Musa Abu Marzouk, the current senior person in charge on the ground, has now said Hamas is a national liberation movement. The plan's definition of terrorism does not apply to it, President Trump's plan. Weapons were to resist occupation. If it ends and Palestinians govern themselves, there is no need for arms. We will hand over our weapons to the future Palestinian state. You do realize why? If Hamas genuinely think that everybody in the world is stupid, then that's another problem. Because yes, there is a big chunk of people in the world who are stupid, but not the people who have been following this from this side. What they said was, actually, we are ready to surrender. We are ready to disarm ourselves, because if the IDF are withdrawing and we're going to have a Palestinian Authority in charge, we don't need to arm ourselves. Excuse me, what do you think happened since 2005, 2006? You had literally control of Gaza. Israel withdrew completely, and you still armed yourself and built tunnels. Suddenly, they're saying, well, if we're going to be in charge, well, Palestinians are going to be in charge, we don't need to be armed. Why did you need to be armed before then, when Israel wasn't in Gaza? So, obviously, this is the flaw in that argument, in the logic. But at the same time, if they are giving up power, this is what they say. We are surrendering power, we're giving it to the new authority that's going to be in charge, okay? And you're going to disarm yourself, and you're happy that you don't have to be displaced, you can stay in Gaza. You have nothing, no leverage. And if you're releasing all the hostages, Hamas want to demand that to be around, to be involved with conversations about the future of Gaza. You're not going to be in government, according to what you say. You're not going to have arms, according to you. But you still want to have a say. Why? Who's going to say yes to this? How long will it take until this whole thing falls apart, by the way? So now, President Trump, the reason they did this is because they had no other option. President Trump, a few hours ago, kicked off completely because he was waiting for them. He did post, Hamas has been a ruthless and violent threat for many years in the Middle East. They have killed and made lives unbearably miserable, culminating with the October 7th massacre in Israel. Babies, women, children, and old people, and many young men and women, boys and girls, getting ready to celebrate their future lives together. As a retribution for the October 7th attack on civilization, more than 25,000 Hamas soldiers have already been killed. Most of the rest are surrounded and militarily trapped, just waiting for me to give the word go for their lives to be quickly extinguished. As for the rest, we know where and who you are, and you will be hunted down and killed. I am asking that all innocent Palestinians immediately leave this area of potentially great future death for safer parts of Gaza. Everyone will be well cared for by those that are waiting to help. Fortunately for Hamas, however, they will be given one last chance. Great, powerful, and very rich nations of the Middle East and the surrounding areas beyond, together with the United States of America, have agreed with Israel signing on to peace after 3,000 years in the Middle East. This deal also spares the lives of all remaining Hamas fighters. The details of the document are known to the world, and it is a great one for all. We will all have peace in the Middle East, one way or the other. He did finish by saying the violence and bloodshed will stop, release all the hostages, all of them, including the bodies of those that are dead now. An agreement must be reached with Hamas by Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Washington, D.C. time. Every country has signed on. If this last chance agreement is not reached, all hell like no one has ever seen before will break out against Hamas. There will be peace in the Middle East in one way or the other. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Now, you wonder why Hamas panicked and had to agree to this. President Trump said, well, I'm coming anyway. This is your final chance. So this is why they didn't just say we're not going to reject the deal. Because they were cornered, they agreed, we will release all the hostages if the IDF are withdrawing. We will give up control and power to the new Palestinian Authority. And we will disarm ourselves, which, again, that argument makes no sense, what they said. It's all based on lies, but they had no other option. President Trump gave them no other option. So they had to say yes. But this doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. They've said they're going to do it. And they're going to negotiate the details, blah, blah, blah. Which President Trump, he likes to negotiate, so he will negotiate. Now, we do have the latest reaction from Musa Abu Marzouk. Oh, dear God. Abu Marzouk has now said, the handover of the hostages and casualties within 72 hours is a theoretical matter and not realistic under the current circumstances. Here we go. You see? It's been 10 minutes, 12 minutes. They've already... To be fair, it kind of makes sense. They are currently hiding, right? Especially in Gaza City. They're going to have to rally the troops, their own guards, Hamas, bring out the hostages and give them to Israel, right? So technically for Hamas, who you need to wake the rest of them up, 72 hours at this point, they're going to panic. But they're using it as an excuse. They're saying, yeah, we agree to everything. There's a couple of details because we kind of want to be involved with the future discussions about the future of Gaza. But we can't actually release all the hostages by Sunday. Now, the ball is in President Trump's court because he has said you're going to have to release all the hostages by the end of Sunday, basically. We have a reaction, I believe, from the president. He's going to, by the way, do an address from the White House. I think it's coming up. Just waiting for the update on the situation. We have a statement that's now been released by the president. This is so stupid, the Hamas guys. Out of keenness to end the aggression and genocide being carried out against our steadfast people in the Gaza Strip. Oh, this is the initial statement sent to the proposal. That's what it's Hamas saying genocide. We are now ready to accept the terms of the deal, but we will negotiate the details. So, okay, so we're still waiting for the actual White House reaction. The White House basically just released a statement from Hamas. We've already seen it, White House. So we will wait for the official reaction because the president will be making the address from the Oval Office, I believe, in the next few minutes or hour or so. I don't know exactly what time. I'm going to find out the timing of that. While we wait for that, we have to get some reaction from you guys because, again, this is all about what you think around the world. The most important thing is we're celebrating today because we've launched our official Tousi TV X account. Tousi TV official. You can go on X and you should follow it. Otherwise, I'll cry. And to celebrate this launch on X, make sure to use the promo code X50 to get 50% off annual memberships of Tousi TV Plus by going directly on Tousi.tv or just find the link in the description. Now, where are we with you guys? Let's get some reaction in the live chat quickly. This is the number of super chats already. Margaret says, Dear Maya, greetings from Malta. Hamas should never be trusted. I don't think anybody trusts Hamas. And also President Trump is not stupid. They will go to Qatar and plan further from there. After all, we all know who Qatar hosted for years. No, they're not going anywhere. The whole point of the deal and President Trump's proposal is that Hamas will stay in Gaza. This is different to what was proposed months ago. They can stay, but they have to be disarmed and they have to surrender power. So they have agreed to the three main principles. They've agreed to release all the hostages. They've released to give up power to the new Palestinian state. And they've agreed to disarm, but they still want to negotiate a couple of main points until to get to that point, which is stupid. Anyway, now, Mark says, how can we trust Hamas? Only criminals wear masks. Again, just to clarify to everybody watching, no normal person trusts Hamas. No normal politician, political leader, including President Trump, Israel, media, nobody actually trusts Hamas. I don't think anybody says you should trust Hamas. So just for future comments in the live chat that people would say, can we trust Hamas? No, everybody already knows that. Even Hezbollah knows that. Cheryl says, forget Blair, and Mossab Hassan Youssef should be leading this transition. Well, he will be very divisive from the perspective of the Hamas side, so no, it's not going to happen. Right. That will be funny, but considering he's the Green Prince, yeah, obviously, as Farm Girl says, they're stalling. They're trying. They got terrified when the president came earlier and did that statement saying, all hell will break loose. This is the end. I've been waiting for days, and this is your final chance. They had no other option. The White House basically cornered them. They had to say something. And I think because they panicked, they definitely had other options on the table in terms of their response to the deal. So they just went with everything. And then they changed two of their positions immediately within a few minutes. Unless there was miscommunication between the officials, senior officials of Hamas, I don't think they know what they're doing. At this point, if they think they're trying to be clever by buying time, yeah, they might be able to buy time for another few days. Sure. But they've already given up their leverage. They have already agreed to the terms of the deal in principle. They can't back down. The moment if they decide to either keep delaying, like for days and days and weeks for weeks, or the moment they try to actually back away, it's done. It's very different to what the Islamic Republic were doing with the nuclear negotiations for a long time. They were very good at stalling because they never actually agreed to anything in principle. Towards the end, they were kind of indicating, yeah, we don't need nuclear weapons, right? But they never actually agreed to any sort of agreement. That's why President Trump gave the green light to Israel, saying, well, I gave them 50 days deadline, go in, do whatever you want to do. In this case, it's even more complicated for Hamas because they've cornered themselves. They can't back away. Obviously, they have no other option. They can't actually agree, even though it's the best option for them. It's extremely embarrassing. They will lose everything. And they have no leverage if they actually also release all the hostages. So considering that President Trump's, I think the most important part of these upcoming negotiations, if they happen, is about the fact that Hamas will release all the hostages, but they know they can't release them immediately because that's the biggest leverage. So they're going to probably say, President Trump, can you tell Israel to withdraw from the Gaza Strip quicker? Now Trump will say no, because he's going to force them to lose their leverage. And we'll go back to square one. Despite what they said tonight, well, we agree to giving up power, to releasing the hostages, to disarming ourselves. If they don't release the hostages, which, again, from their perspective as Islamist terrorists, well, they shouldn't, because that's the only thing they have. Then, if President Trump says yes to their demands, then President Trump will be embarrassed, and President Trump doesn't like to lose. This is a game of chicken, and both sides have gone too deep, essentially. Now, small reaction. We have a Coffee and Cake saying, crazy rent-a mob, trust Hamas, though. Yeah, they're not in charge. They're not in charge of negotiations. They're not in charge of deciding for anybody. So ignore them. We talk about normal people. I think normal people don't trust Hamas. Trump. God bless Tousi. Thank you. Mustard says, will they live up to it though? Well, technically at this point they have no other option. But if they do, that will also be... It's a lose-lose. It's just completely disgusting. Hamas is finished. However, they are trying to buy time for themselves to escape. Well, they don't have to escape. That's the point of the deal. But yeah, they're idiots. There is no credibility with Hamas from day one, since October the 7th, well, since 2005, but yeah. Please, Sir Bibi, never accept the word of Hamas. Shalom. Yeah, I mean, well, you could never trust them even way before, even in the early 2000s, but although Fatah made a big mistake in the mid-2000s, whoopsie, that didn't go too well for the opposition. Having said that, if they are slightly more rational, if they were to be rational, obviously they would just accept the deal, just retire, right? They could just retire. They could still be in Gaza, try to influence and brainwash, manipulate, do whatever you want to do, right? Buy time, aim for a big return of Hamas in 20 years' time, right? That's the best strategy for them as Islamists. They don't need to run away because they can stay in Gaza. Or they could choose to buy time and somehow find a safe haven, which I'm not really sure where they can go at this point, considering President Trump will hunt down any country that will host the rest of these guys. And to do what? Regroup in the middle of Egypt or Qatar? It's not going to be possible anymore. It's not 2010. Mark also says, I can just about remember Black September as a kid. It was frightening for me to, as a small child. It was on TV every day. Trouble back then. Cute Tousi. You just call me Cute Tousi. Thank you. Master says, adding a euro to Tousi for every Palestine flag in the chat. Oh, no. Do we have Palestinian flags in the chat? Oh, I need to wash my hands. Also, what is this? We've got the... This is a very confusing account. So, the username is Persian. Usually, the pro-Islamic Republic people don't like the word Persian. They don't like the ethnicities. They like Islam. So, it calls itself Persian. It's posting flag emojis of Turkey, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and some fake place called Narnia, or Palestine. That literally makes no sense, considering how much Turkey and the Islamic Republic hate each other. This is basically bipolar in one person. Just completely confusing. Anyway, let's see. Is he spamming now? He is spamming. Okay, we're going to get rid of spammers. If you copy and paste like a nutter, you will be banned like a nutter. The English auditor says, rule number 1, never negotiate with terrorists. But unless you want the hostages to get killed, you know. Deepak says, Hamas could not be trusted. Yeah, I did clarify this about 10 minutes ago. Everyone keeps repeating the same thing. Everyone knows Hamas can't be trusted. Anyway, and so does Trump, as the whole world knows about his lies about stopping a war between India and Pakistan. It's called Trump diplomatic language. He's created his own diplomacy when it comes to language. It's a genius thing. Normal idiots don't understand how the Trump language works. There are strong chances that Hamas could move to Pakistan. No, not gonna happen. Oh my God. Anyway, imagine Pakistan accepting Hamas with all the troubles they currently have. Lots of Palestine flags flying. Oh dear. These guys need to go to sleep early because there's going to be absolute mayhem tomorrow in central London. As I said in the previous live stream, I'm actually going to go back. I'm going to go back out there because after what happened yesterday in Manchester, in England, with the attack on the synagogue, and when the Palestinian supporters came out hours later to dance around and cheer and clap and everything else to celebrate, tomorrow, Saturday, 4th of October, they plan to come out again. They plan to take over Westminster with the leadership of Palestine Action, which is a terrorist organization in the UK. We send out our Tousi TV reporters on the ground, mostly Nyak Robani or Louis. I report from here, I do the broadcast from here, mostly because it's been unsafe with all the death threats against me and everything else that's been going on over the last couple of years. But tomorrow, I will personally be on the ground in central London to report live, to expose every single person. Even if they're covering their faces, they will still be exposed. People will be arrested. There will be death threats. There will be intimidation. It doesn't matter. We have to be there because the actual legacy media, they're not going to be on the ground actually showing you the true face of the left-wingers in Britain and the Islamists and their alliance, the anti-Western alliance. So we are going to be there. Don't really care. It's time to take it. Not in that way. Unless the Palestinian side want to give up. If you ask the Iranians what they think of the Palestinian flag, they can tell you where they should shove it. Mr. Privacy says, is survival of Netanyahu's administration assured or threatened by this deal, do you think? That Jewish journalist at the NMC was interesting in the subject of Bibi. Was that Emily Schrader at our new media conference? Emily is going to be there tomorrow as well in London with us. Well, I mean, but most of the biggest problems for Netanyahu's government and his leadership, there are two main issues. I mean, there are many issues, but two main issues. One is the judicial issues, the corruption charges and everything else, the political part of the internal government. Secondly is a lot of people on the ground, including people in Tel Aviv mostly, who are slightly more liberal leaning, and some who are centre-right, but they just don't like Netanyahu right now. They are protesting, right? But you could still have a lot of people in your country on the streets protesting, and you can still stay in power. Margaret Thatcher always had protests, thousands and thousands. It's the first one that's still a big issue, which is not really linked to this deal, whether the deal works or not. The deal failing or succeeding will just affect the people on the streets who either, at this point, already support him or hate him. So the approval rating is not really going to change that much when it comes to this deal. That's basically Netanyahu, in a clever way, he's basically said, well, Trump did it. You know, President Trump came up with a great idea. I supported it. If he fails, oops. So it's still difficult, but he has other problems in terms of the internal politics of the Knesset and his government. So Rodriguez, thank you very much. And Mark Davis says that maybe all hostages are dead and are stolen. Well, that will be a whole different crisis for them, which would mean if that is to be proven right, then obviously there will be a green light for the IDF to go finish everything. At that point, President Trump doesn't need to give green light to the IDF. The IDF will go in. Because at this point, the only reason that they're still taking their time and being cautious, apart from the booby traps all over Gaza, it's not a straightforward battleground. There's also the problem that there could be hostages anywhere in the corner. If they find out all hostages are gone, well, they're going to go all out. Or in this case, all in. I still think there will still be a few, if not 20 alive, there will still be about 10, 15 alive. Although it's been almost getting close to, 3 years now, right? 2 years, 3 years? 2 years. 2025, 2 years now. We don't just need a political change, we need a cultural change where these outsiders know the native culture is in control and doesn't take as crap. Okay. Now, we still have our live feed from Gaza, and I'm just trying to double check the latest reaction. Oh, hello. Don't know if you heard that. It's relatively quiet until now. All right. There's explosions happening in the background. It's quite farther. Yeah. There is another reaction from Osama Hamdan, another senior leader who's still alive somehow. And as you guys can tell, I'm going to put his face on the screen, obviously. Osama has been suffering, unfortunately, over the last couple of years, especially the last few months, with starvation. You know, the man is hungry. As you can tell, he's being genocided. He's so fat. Anyway, Osama said attempts to exclude Hamas from a Palestinian political process will not succeed. So, which goes back to what we've been saying from the beginning of this live update. Just to sum up, if you joined, they said we will surrender power, we will release all the hostages, and we will disarm, but we still want to be part of the future political process, the future of Gaza. Which how? So I know they're gonna keep trying, but essentially, they think they're trying to buy time. Essentially, what this is we accept the deal, but we're not accepting the deal at the same time. It's a whole new level. It's a whole new version of trying to buy time. Because at least the Islamic Republic with the nuclear negotiations, they didn't do this. They were just actually saying, well, maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't do it. Hamas have said, we will do it. Also, we won't do it. That makes it's literally black and white. Mark says, please be careful, Tousi. We care for you. Bodyguard. What? We care for you, bodyguard. I'll try to be careful, don't worry. Tomorrow's going to be slightly crazy. Jonathan says, Tousi, it's not Hamas, it's Hamas. Only the Brits will get that, the British version spelling. Deborah says, best part of today, Tommy Robinson invited to Israel by Israel's Minister of Diaspora. And Tommy accepted. This is wonderful news. Yeah, Tommy's going to go to Israel in about a week. So he's going to be there for a while. And yeah, we're supposed to go there before, but obviously the UK prison system didn't allow it. I think last time Tommy was in Israel was before lockdown, I think. Okay, so we have some breaking news. Also, for those of you who follow Mario Naufal on X, I will be on his X space shortly after this live stream to cover the same thing. All right, so we have a reaction from Lindsay. That's Lindsey Graham, obviously, not the random Lindsay. We got a quick response from Lindsey Graham, who has now said that Hamas's recent response to President Trump's plan to end the war, which Israel had accepted, is unfortunately predictable. A classic yes, but. Obviously, as I said, it's not even yes, but. It's more like yes and no. But would have made more sense for Hamas. Yes, we will do everything. Also, we won't do the main thing. You just said you will do it. No, we didn't. Yes, you did. All right. I think they've just completely lost their mind. Groundwork is now reportedly being prepared to enable an exchange of hostages and the terrorists, obviously, who are being held in Israeli prisons, as the negotiations will potentially begin tonight, according to Hamas. We are just waiting for the White House to confirm whether they are willing to negotiate the details. And to be fair, I don't do predictions, but I think President Trump is going to hit back. I think President Trump is going to initially come in the next few minutes, obviously say, this is great, my deal has been accepted. He's going to do that. Then he's going to go and say, well, obviously, Hamas will have to agree to everything. So, yeah, we'll talk to them, but they're going to have to agree with everything. So, and then they're going to negotiate. So we could still have a few days for Hamas to buy time, even though they said yes and no at the same time. What's happening here? Mr. Private says, can you get Tommy Robinson and Maggie Noels together on the show? I'd rather die in a ditch. No, absolutely not. Although I need to get my good friend Tommy back on. Well, I was going to do a podcast interview with Tommy before the wedding, which was now... By the way, it's been almost a month. Almost a month since I've been married. I'm actually officially gotten used to the ring, which was slightly difficult at first. I kept playing with it. But yeah, so Tommy will come. I need to get him, the moment he comes back from Israel, I'll get him back on the channel. Thank you for your super chat, KP1, saying for coffee for you and your crew to keep you awake and aware tomorrow. Praying for Hashem to lead, guide, and direct your path. Thank you so much for that. Although, if you wish to support the team and the channel, and actually it's probably best for you to get something out of it, and you know how to do it, right? You can join Tousi TV Plus today, but you can actually get a 50% discount if you use the promo code X50. Yeah, use X50. Go to tousi.tv. The direct link is in the description. When you go on the sign up form, just scroll down to the bottom. There's a section called coupon code. Put it in that box. It's only for the annual memberships, not monthly, obviously. So yes, get your 50% discounts. We're just celebrating that we finally launched our official account on X. I love it when the random comments actually just help me remind myself to do a plug for the platform. And obviously, download the Tousi TV app from your app stores. That's the main thing as well. A lot of hamster baiters in the chat. I was not expecting that one, but okay, cool. What? Silver says, I want everyone to know I am not suicidal. Even though I think Benjamin Netanyahu is a wolf in sheep's clothing, breaking many of God's commandments, and helped in the murder of Charlie Kirk. We have medicine for these sort of conditions. Just talk to your doctor, Silver Andrews, and you will be okay. Dear God, imagine being in the head of that person. It would be hell. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm going to wait for more reaction from the White House to find out how President Trump is going to react to this officially. As I said, don't forget to use the promo code X50. I'm going to go on Mario Nafal's X space now in a few minutes, I think in about half an hour, and say exactly what I said here, but on X. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya Tousi, and we are the media.